Jordan Peele's Us, your most burning questions answered. So you've just seen Jordan Peele's Us, eh? And now you're left with a whole lot of questions and emotions to process. It's not just you. Us covers a whole lot, we know, because we've been down that tunnel ourselves and come out the other side. While we can't, well, because it's about us, and how we are our own worst enemies. Don't take our word, plus, us US, as in America. The tethered join hands in us. Image Universal. For those too young to remember, yes, Hands Across America was a real thing. The 1980s, in us, the tethered you who can be interpreted as stand-ins for exactly the kind of oppressed and marginalized people that Hands Across America was intended to help, you decide to stage their own version of the event, and it's actually somewhat successful. The final shot shows a long line of red jumpsuit figures winding through the mountains. See also. But seen a certain way, it plays as a cruel joke. After all, yes. Michael. Though the shirt is only seen in the 1986 scenes of Us, Jason's werewolf mask serves as a visual reference to the music video in the present-day scenes. Us was shot before leaving Neverland, sparked new conversation about the allegations against Jackson. But, Peele adds that Boardwalk Rando is clearly a big fan of the Bible verse, which reads, "Therefore." It's part of a longer passage in which God tells Jeremiah he will punish his people for forgetting the covenant their forefathers made with God, and for return. It dovetails with one of the major themes of Us, which is that we've brought this judgment upon ourselves by forgetting our own ugly history. And, hey, rabbits are a recurring motif throughout Us, and they're strongly associated with the tethered you. They're kept in underground cages by the tethered and seem to be the only thing the tethered get to eat. Peele personally finds rabbits despite having had a pet rabbit, so that's certainly part of it. But beyond that, Adelaide goes down an almost literal rabbit hole when she enters the tunnels to find her son, but a metaphorical one as well when she learns more about the tethered. Then there's the idea, also worth pointing out, is that rabbits are portrayed in many cultures, including the US, as tricksters who defy rules and conventions, surviving and overcoming negative situations through their wits. The tethered can prop spiders creep in and out of Us. Adelaide and Red with. Ultimately, we discover that the lyrics relate to the plot itself. Red is the itsy bitsy spider who climbs up the water spout, i.e., the escalator to the surface world, gets washed down, and then goes back up again to live in the sun by posing as Adelaide. You can also think of the real Adelaide, after she's condemned to the tunnels, as the spider who keeps trying and failing to make her way out until she gets her own day in the sun, with the tethered's Hands Across America stunt. Us turns Lunice's eye. But, as outlined by, there's a deeper albeit probably unintentional layer to consider. That chorus is the Wilsons, Adelaide, Zora, and Jason in Us. Image Universal. Yes and no. Peele has repeated. On the other hand, the Wilsons' blackness is a statement in itself, in a genre that, like so many others, tends to center white people as the default. Here, Peele short answer as Red says, were. Longer answer according to Red, the tethered are exact duplicates of their surface world counterparts, with each pair sharing a single soul. They were created. To be honest with you, we're not entirely sure the practical logistics of the tethered make a lot of sense, but we are pretty sure we don't care either way. Too, there doesn't seem to be any one definitive answer to that question, and Peele himself has encouraged viewers to draw their own conclusions. But there are a few, as mentioned above, they can be seen as representing our tendency to forget our own history of oppression. Or our own individual. Really, it's up to you. There's a reason resembled a Rorschach test, Who knows? She freaking should, with additional assistance by Jess Joho, Raindrop, drop top.
you appreciate that. Looking up